It's finished Man City 3, Wolves 0. A disappointing afternoon for Wolves, to be honest. But City at the moment, I know they've been on sort of sticky patches, a sticky patch of form, and been a little bit quieter than usual since the World Cup break. But you just know with City, when they turn up, they're going to be very, very difficult to beat. But Wolves obviously had their own errors, which we'll talk about, which, you know, have got to try and be ironed out. But we've just got to make sure we don't dwell too much on this sort of performance. Wolves started with Jose Sarr in goal. We saw Semedo, Collins, Kilman and Bueno make up the back four. Lamina started in the midfield today with Neves and Nunez. And a front three, which probably surprised everybody, the front three, of Adama Traore, Jimenez and Hwang. Surprised not to see Pedence in there, especially with how well he's been performing recently. Cunha as well, and possibly even Sarabia. Obviously, we saw all three get introduced at some point, but I think, you know, I was surprised not to see Pedence in there especially. But, you know, we started off okay. You know, David Coote was a little bit quick to get the cards out of his pocket, the referee, and obviously we saw Lopetegui then get into the book as well. But we held Manchester City fairly well. I think that's what you've got to try and do, frustrate them as long as you can. And it's a shame that we couldn't get to half time at 0-0, if I'm completely honest. But obviously Haaland got the first goal. It was the ball in by Kevin De Bruyne, and Haaland at the back post beating Nathan Collins. I think we've got to be a little bit better trying to stop the cross coming in. I think looking at the replay, Hugo Bueno is obviously on Mahrez, who lays it back off to De Bruyne, but I think Nunez is the one that really, I think he goes to double up on Mahrez and he almost just leaves De Bruyne unoccupied and gives him that little bit of extra space and time to pick a ball out. And Haaland, you know, he's physically phenomenal, beats Collins in the air and scores a goal. So, like I said, I think it would have been nice to go in at half-time at 0-0. I think you can, you know, just continue with the game plan, do what you need to do. Second half, though, couldn't have got off to a worse start, really. Obviously, Haaland then scoring the 2 goals in the 50th and 54th minute. The first one being a penalty. There weren't many complaints, were there? I think Neves had just clipped, was it Gundogan, who had sort of burst towards goal, and Haaland sent Jose Sarr the wrong way. But the third goal is the frustrating one, because when you're coming up against Manchester City, who are arguably one of the best teams in the world, you've just got to make sure you don't make any major errors, especially in front of your own goal. And Jose Sarr, I don't know what's happened really over the last, I thought he started off the new year okay, but the last few games he's been really shaky and quite poor. Distribution has been really questionable as well, and he's passed it straight into the path of Mahrez, who just has to put it on a plate for Haaland, who taps it in to make it 3-0 and grab his hat-trick. City just took their foot off the gas then. They didn't need to do any more. Obviously we saw Haaland come off, but like I said, you can't, you know, if you're struggling yourself, you just got to make sure you're solid at the back. And when you're gifting chances to Manchester City like that, that's when it's frustrating, really. Now, there's two things. Obviously, people rightly or wrongly getting frustrated at Jose Sarr for that. I think it's not just today. Villa, I remember there was a couple of instances which were really poor. Liverpool in the week as well. I think he should have done much better with the goal. And then there were 1 or 2 instances of distribution as well. So do you go out, not necessarily in January, but in the summer, and replace him with a better goalkeeper who's good with his feet as well? Or do you change your philosophy or playing style very slightly, where it doesn't rely so heavily on playing out from the back and relying on your goalkeeper to play with the ball at his feet as well? Because I think at the moment that is, you know, a little bit of an issue. But we saw the subs come on. I thought them, you know, the triple change at half time obviously showed that Lopetegui wasn't impressed with how we were playing going further forward. We saw Sarabia come on for his debut, who looked bright in spells. We saw Cunha come on, and we saw Moutinho come on. So that front three was pretty much all replaced. Pedence came on as well. You know, looked bright and created those sort of half chances, and we had those half chances, but we just weren't clinical enough today. And City were obviously just far too good for us. But I think, like I said, it's hard. You know, when you always say the games against City or whatever are a free hit, but when it actually comes to the matches, almost spend a little bit too much time dwelling on it or nitpicking at certain factors from the game. But, you know, at the start of the season, you look at these games and you just almost write them off. Of course, it's always nice to go out there, give them a go, and if you can get a point or even 3 points out of them, great. But our main focus is obviously going to be beating the teams around us. Fortunately for Wolves, I think this weekend in terms of results has been pretty good for Wolves. A lot of the teams around us have dropped points, and I think I will double check the Premier League table, but I think we're still outside the drop zone at the moment. So what's big for us now is obviously we've got a week break next week with the FA Cup week, and then we play Liverpool, who are sort of, you know, a little bit hit and miss at the moment. So, you know, we'll try and take whatever positives we can from it, but overall it wasn't a great performance from Wolves. City, obviously the much better team, and just got to try and iron out these sloppy errors that Wolves have got going for them at the moment. And fingers crossed, busy week or so in the transfer window, try and get a couple more players in, and just go for it for the rest of the season. City 3, Wolves 0. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, guys. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all next time.